Good evening and welcome to the Brothas-in-law. I'm Corey Taylor. I am a former Navy Chief Petty Officer with 20 years of service. And I also was a Virginia State Trooper for 7 years here in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Uh, I'm joined again with my longtime childhood friend, Michael Bradley, who is a former Pleasanton, California police officer with 26 years of service to the great state of California. And tonight, before we get into our topic, we're going to talk about suspicious activities and should you be afraid to be a officer. But like I said, before we get into that, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to leave us a comment below, please do so. And also, with that, leaving a comment, if you had an experience with law enforcement, good or bad, go ahead and share your story with us. We'd love to hear your story and what happened, how you handled your interaction with police. All right. You can also follow us on Facebook at Brothas-in-law or check us out over on Instagram at Brothas-in-law_21. Again, so tonight's topic is suspicious activity and should you be afraid to be a law enforcement officer. And so when we talk about suspicious activity, Mike, a lot of times we get calls in of suspicious activity, and so when you hear things like that, what are some of the things that you're looking for to receiving from the citizens to help you do your job as a law enforcement officer?
Well, that's like you said, that's one of the more common calls that a patrol officer gets. And the first thing I'm thinking is, well, first of all, suspicious activity is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What may be suspicious to you may not be suspicious to me. So officers definitely got to understand that, which is why, as a responding officer to a call like that, I want to know as much detail as you possibly can give about what the suspicious activity is. First off, start with a description, top to bottom. If they have a hat on, what their hair looks like, if they have any facial hair, what their shirt looks like, pants and down all the way down to the shoes. And also, where exactly did you see them, and what actions were they taking that made them look suspicious? I want to hear something more than I don't recognize them in the neighborhood, or something very vague. I want to hear some specific things, because if I'm going to stop someone, if I'm going to pull someone over or stop someone for that kind of call for service, I want to be able to justify that I'm not just stopping you because I don't think you belong in this neighborhood, right? No, everybody has a legal right to be in any neighborhood, on any public place, as long as they got a legal right to be there. There's nothing illegal about that. So a lot of times when I get those calls, that's the first thing I'm looking is, well, what is it that's making them suspicious? You see what I'm saying? And if you can't provide that as a responding officer, well, as we said before, the police officers, they do have an obligation to at least respond to the call and investigate what is being reported. That doesn't necessarily mean they actually have to contact anyone. If you're not telling me that this person is doing something that is suspicious, then I'm probably not going to stop that person. I might roll up and keep an eye on them or look at them to see what they're doing so that I can try to determine why someone would call them in as suspicious. But past that, that's about as far as I'm going to go. Right. Same way with cars. If you roll up on a car or someone calls because they see a vehicle on their street that they don't recognize, okay, well, give me something a little bit more than that. Now, flip the script, or flip it up a little bit and say we've had car burglaries on that particular street before, or we've had some property crimes that's been happening on that street, and you see a car parked in front of your neighbor's house or somewhere on the street that's occupied and you don't recognize the car. Could that be suspicious? Well, sure, it could be, but again, that responding officer has to get there and assess the situation, what they're seeing, and determine if it's something worth actually detaining someone for or not.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be like you said a while ago, that the best thing that a citizen can be is a great witness. Along with that, what I would add to this is that more is better, like you said. So keep in mind when you're calling into your local PD, whether it be a non-emergency or a 911 call, you have to talk slowly. You have to be calm yourself and give every detail you can to that dispatcher. So when they put that information into the system, as it's getting into the system and she's sending it out to the officers or to the troopers, that officer has enough information as possible to ensure that they're going to be stopping the if not the right person, or get as closest to that person that they're looking for as possible with the amount of information that is given to them, right? So we're asking them to do crime prevention here, and so in order ways to get that, they need the information to make that happen. So just be mindful of that when you're making those type of calls to law enforcement of suspicious activity going on. Um, I mean, I think that's key in the whole thing, because what happens when you don't uh, recognize something as suspicious, and um, the criminal is going to keep doing what they're doing,
Right.
vandalizing your home, breaking it in your home, and stealing your cars, whatever the case may be. So we have to, law enforcement have to do these things to stop these criminals for uh, destroying and stealing your property. So, and just because they're stopping you, and that description is a Black person uh, or a Hispanic person or anything like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that the officer's being racist. They're going off of the information that they have at hand. All right. And so their job is do process of elimination when they stop you, asking the who, what, where, when, how, why, and all that, uh, to get enough information to determine, okay, yes, this is the person I am looking for, and they need to continue the investigation a little further, or no, this is not the person I'm looking for. I'm sorry to have hold you this long, but I had to figure out what was going on and make sure we're getting the right person. All right. So
Sure.
with that being said, you know, you have to keep the acronym of CALM in play again, right? You're gonna comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. So, don't be so quick to get agitated and go off the deep end and thinking that he or she is just stopping you because you're Black. That's not necessarily the case. They are stopping you because you are Black, but that's the description that they have at the time of who they're looking for. All right, so that doesn't mean it's a racial incident. Now I'm not saying that it doesn't happen or never has happened, but you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt here and listen to what they're saying, and then you can be able to determine yourself, okay, this is not going the right way. And then there's different things you can do outside of that to ensure that that officer doesn't do this again to anybody else. All right, so you have
Now, I agree, but real quick,
go
you
ahead.
know, you're going to have, people are always going to say, well, you stopped me. They're always going to say, well, not always, but you're always going to have an element of people say that's going to say you stopped me because I'm Black.
I'm Black.
So
Yeah.
I also feel that there is a big responsibility, especially in these times and ages, on the officer as to how they approach that situation
True.
and how that officer communicates his or her purpose for contacting that individual who
True.
happens to be Black. Yeah, number one, like you said a bit ago, the description that was being reported was that they were Black. So sure, their race was part of the description. Yes, that is something that would be one element as to why I'm looking at you and I stopped you. Okay. But also the officer needs to communicate with this person in an effective way to find out what they need to find out. And if they come straight in hot on somebody, you know, you rolling up, you jumping up on the curb, you having people sit down on the curb, this and that. You coming in hot like that, not really explaining what's going on or why you're doing what you're doing, may send the wrong message to that individual person.
True.
It could be very likely that this person has got every right to be where they are. They got every right to be, you know, not doing something illegal, or they're really not suspicious after all, and they can justify what they're doing and why they're doing it, right? But if that officer comes in hot, he's going to create a false perception, and it's going to make it easy for someone to say, well, dang, you know, I'm just a black man walking down the street here, but you coming up on me like you already suspect me of being a criminal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some officers that do have to be careful with that.
Oh yeah.
Have to. A good officer is going to understand the times that we are in, and they're going to be a more effective communicator on that. Now, are there reasons why police officers would have someone sit down on the curb? Yes, there are tactical reasons why someone would have someone sit down on the curb, but it's up to that officer to try to use their professional instinct and their personal instinct to figure out if that's something that is necessary. Is that a necessary tactic on every suspicious person contact? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Is it necessary on some? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, if it's 2:00 in the morning and you walking down the street and you can't tell me why you're there, you don't know anybody there, say it's a neighborhood that's way off the beaten path, where you would only know about this, you would have to come exploring this neighborhood to find it, right? No matter what kind of neighborhood it is, if you can't give me those logical reasons for why you're there at 2:30 in the morning, walking down the street for no rhyme or reason, well, that might be a situation where I'm gonna have you sit down on the curb until I can confirm who you are and what you're doing there. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's 3:00 in the afternoon, middle of the day, you ain't doing nothing suspicious other than walking down the sidewalk. You see what I'm saying? No, I'm not going to come in hot and respond to you and even talk to you that way. You see what I'm saying? And I think a lot of officers, sometimes you may have some officers who get in their mind that I have a tactical way that I need to approach this situation, and they forget that they have to apply that tactic only when it's necessary, and it's not necessary straight across the board.
Correct. You know yeah. It's definitely not that way. What I like what you said, when the officer's going in hot, and a lot of times, again, going back to the call, right? So you're being stopped as a citizen for being suspected of being somebody doing some type of suspicious activity, and the officer comes in hot and they got that gun drawn. Now, rightfully so, you're going to freak out, right? Somebody coming blazing on me and he got the guns out and everything. I'm gonna be a little on edge, like, you know, well, knowing what I know now, you know, I'm not a criminal, but knowing what I know now, hey, what's going on, fella? Hold on. All right, here, you know, I'm gonna put my hands up. You're gonna see my hands, whatever. Hey, what's going on? And you have the right to ask, hey, what's going on? Right? You got guns pointed at you. So again, you know, they're reacting off of the call that came in. And it's a call that came in is that suspect is a black male wearing whatever type of clothing and is armed, and or has, you know, hurt somebody. You got to understand, when the officers go into these calls, you know, they're thinking about going into a situation. Okay, this guy's got a gun, all right, or he's armed, or he's a dangerous person, right? Because, you know, we don't know what he did other than, you know, physical abuse with an ex-girlfriend, all right, beat her up or whatnot, possibly has a gun on him, right? You get a lot of calls, you know, like that. And so when they're coming in like that, and they're at the ready or have their hands on their weapon, that's gonna freak a citizen now, and rightfully so. I mean, I would be kind of like, whoa, what's going on myself, you know?
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying right there,
yeah,
and you're exactly right. So that's and in those kind of situations,
yeah,
like you said, when a lot of times as a citizen, you walking down the street and you have that. If you are that citizen and you are walking down the sidewalk and you have these cops rolling in hot, right? Just like you said, it's even though you may not be doing nothing at all, you may be the most innocent person, have every right to be doing whatever it was you were doing, right? Keep in mind though, if you have them officers coming in hot on you and they're giving you instructions, you don't know that those officers had a call just now of someone who matches your description, like you said, who is armed. You don't know that yet. You don't know what kind of call that these officers received that caused them to have this response. So you said something earlier. Sometimes it's tough when the citizen gets into the heat of the moment and they got to take some deep breaths to calm themselves down. Yeah, that could be disturbing. You got three cops rolling up on you with guns drawn. It can get, like in a panic mode. Like, what's going on here? Why are y'all doing this to me?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Guarantee there's a reason why those officers are doing it. You may not know what that reason is yet, which does fall on the officers at some point to explain why they had that response. For instance, when I had those kinds of responses, I would roll those calls and I might come in hot with my gun drawn on the person that they described. Okay. But once I have control of the situation, the person I got that gun on is complying with my instructions. Because you don't have control of the situation if that person ain't complying to your instructions. But once I have control of that situation and I determine that this is either not the person we're looking for or there's a legitimate reason why this person is doing what they're doing, then I'm going to explain to that person, hey, this is why I responded this way. This is why when I came up on you, I had guns drawn and I was demanding you sit down on the curb or whatever control I was trying to gain. And I would explain that to the citizen. I always thought that that was very important because I don't want that citizen to walk away from that situation and have to call the police department and say, I was just stopped with guns drawn on me and I don't know why, right? That officer should be explaining to that citizen, hey, this is why I did that. And these are the tactical reasons why I did what I did. Now, if the citizen don't want to accept that explanation, which has happened before, if they don't want to accept that explanation, well, it's not much I can do about that. But I will at least tell you why I'm having the response that I'm having. Right. You may not know.
And I agree with you 100% on that. As an officer, you need to let the people know why you came in hot like that, why were weapons drawn, and if you're doing your part as a citizen and complying to everything, the quicker you're complying, they either, they're going to detain you, they're going to probably put you in handcuffs and make sure it render the scene safe, as we say. And once that happens, okay, cool. You're not the one they're looking for, but you're matching the description. All right, those handcuffs are eventually going to come off you once they determine that you're not the person that they're looking for. Let them do their investigation. They're going to explain to you, like Mike said, why they came in hot like that with the guns drawn. Now, I mean, if they don't do it, that doesn't mean that they're racist, and they're just hounding you because you're black or whatever. I mean, you gotta also look on an officer's perspective. It's 9,000 things going through their head right now. When you get those calls, and when you get those calls that come in, the dispatcher is calling you on the radio, or you're reading in the message on your terminal. Could have been a domestic situation, and he beat the girlfriend up or the wife up really bad, hurt the kids, and now he's out and about with a gun, maybe going to hurt somebody else. and you just happen to be in that area where this happened and wearing similar clothes to what the perpetrator was wearing. And so, yeah, they're gonna go in and hide like that. And the same thing in cars. You know, if we match the description of a car that was involved in a hit and run or a burglary, where it turns into what we call doing a felony stop of a felony offense has occurred, and you're coming out with your guns to the ready. You know, it's up to that officer. He has to make sure that he explains to you. And if they don't, then you can keep asking them why. Hey, you mind telling me why? And if they don't, they're blowing you off, whatever. You know what? You don't catch an attitude. You keep your composure, and then you call that station, that police station, and you talk to the supervisor. You let them. Hey, I want to know why they did that. Right?
Sure.
You don't argue and fight on the side of the road. You're not in trouble. They, for whatever reason, they stopped the wrong person. All right. Now, if they don't do that, the correct way of handling it on your end is you go make the report to the proper precinct and get the problem rectified. If it needs to be, you deserve an explanation of what happened. And if you
And
don't, go ahead.
uh, real quick, for me as an officer, when it comes to the race, like if you have a call and they reported you as a black male or a white male, once I get to the scene and I find the person I'm looking for, that's as far as the race goes. As far as
Sure.
Is he a black man? That's it. I'm past that. Now you are just a person that I have to deal with to find out what you're doing, why you're there, if you're breaking the law, if you're not breaking the law. I don't care what race you are after an initial identification. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most officers are the same way. So, but as a citizen, I think some citizens, when they're being confronted that way, they're still hanging on in their mind that, oh, this is happening to me because I'm black, right? This is happening. And I think that builds anger up in them because they're still on, you're only stopping me because I'm black. Mm-hmm. But the police are far past the fact that you're black. Once they saw you were black and you matched the description that was reported by the reporting party, they're past that. And like you said, they're thinking of 100 other tactical things of how they're going to handle the situation. They would do that no matter what color you are.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? If you were reported as a white guy under the same circumstances, they're going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you right there, and that for the citizens to understand.
Yeah. You just have to keep that in mind. They have to keep that in perspective. Like you said, they're way past that. Right now that it's not about you being black no more. Once they have identified you, now it's like, okay, was a crime committed? If a crime was committed, is there evidence? Do I have the evidence? We're looking at bagging up the evidence. We're looking at, okay, what additional charges are there? Where we're transporting? Is the scene safe? Contacting the person that this was stolen? Is so many other things going.
So many other things, right?
And then, oh yeah, I got this black dude, and right. You're right. I mean, and I was the same way. Once I had who I was looking for, I didn't care about the color. I mean, that was like non and void. It was like, okay, I got the person I'm looking for. It doesn't even matter what color you are, right? And so, we have to keep that in mind that it is about race, but only for a little small fraction of women. Now, again,
small fraction.
Again, yes, there are racist police officers out there. We know there are. Sometimes they're in the police departments within the inner cities, or not. But everything, isn't about race all the time, right? In every situation, just because he happens to be a white officer and you're black doesn't make him racist because he stopped you. Let the cards fall where they may. and let them do their job. And again, if it's not going that way and it's leaning towards more the racial side, and not just him being a butthole, but truly being a racist. What I mean by that, saying, hey boy, what you doing here, boy? Your kind don't be around here, boy.
Yeah, that's different. That's a whole different ball game,
that's
right?
a whole different ball game, right? Other than me saying, hey, sir, you mind telling me why in this neighborhood? Is there a reason why you're here? Do you come here a lot? Do you live around here? It's different. It's
Right.
different questioning going on right there,
I
right?
think, and like you said, I think a citizen has to. It's important for the citizen provide whatever the officer is asking you to.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do is you want this officer to be satisfied that ain't nothing suspicious going on here, sir. Here's my name, here's my ID. This is what I'm doing here. Or it could be something as I'm just out for a walk, officer. I'm not really doing anything. You want to make the situation, make it show what it is.
Right.
Show the officer that the situation is what it is. I'm
Right.
just an innocent person walking down the street.
Right.
Show your ID, let him identify who you are. If you ain't got nothing to hide, there's no problem with that. He said, here, officer, you can have my ID, whatever you need. Tell me what you need, officer, because before you walk away from here, I want you to know that I am no one that's suspicious. And if someone thinks I'm suspicious, that's their problem.
Right.
I'm showing you who I am. This is what I'm doing. And I want you as an officer to be comfortable
Right.
that
I'm
know that I ain't somebody no good, right?
I'm not the one you looking for.
I'm not the one you
I'm
looking
not the
for.
one you looking for, and that's what you want to overload them with the information that they might be wanting. Hey, this is who I am, my name, date of birth. Now, on the flip side of that, when they do run you your information, because they're gonna ask you, do you have any outstanding warrants? And I always get, no, trooper, I ain't got nothing. You sure? Because I'm gonna run you. And then he come back, hey man, you got a warrant out for your arrest, right?
What?
Right? And so
I got that taken care with my lawyer the other day. That's big.
Right. And so now, hey, you're not the suspect I'm looking for, but however, and again, the officer has to respond to that. You haven't had the warrant out, they have to take you to jail. All right. Even though because of those circumstances, what just happened, you just so haven't been the person they was looking for, well, allegedly looking for, matching the description, and then turns out you have an outstanding warrant. Guess what? You have to go to jail. It happens that way.
That's how it works sometimes.
That's just how it works sometimes. It's not, that they were out specifically looking for that.
Yeah, you just happen to get caught up in the net, and happen like it happened. That's all.
All right, so hey, if you like this content thus far, and you want to see more of it, and hear us talk about more about racial policing and our opinions on it and our take, leave us a comment below or hit us up on Facebook or on Instagram. So now, what I want to also talk about real quick is, should you be a police officer and being afraid at the same time? And the reason why I want to talk about that, because I remember it was a situation that happened, officer involved shooting a few years ago, and I don't remember who was involved in that shooting, but I remember reading a post on Facebook, and a friend of mine had put on there, well, if you're gonna be afraid, because there's that phrase that the officer was in fear of their life, and he was responding to that comment by simply saying, well, if you're gonna be scared, then you shouldn't be no police officer. Well, there's always gonna be a level of fear a police officer is gonna carry with them. Every day when I put that uniform on and I got in that patrol car and I headed out, I was scared because I didn't know if I was gonna be coming home. When I kissed my wife and kids goodnight, that night, if I was working a midnight shift or whatever shift I was working, you don't know if that is your last time. So you had that little bit of fear. And then also that fear for me uh adds a heightened sense of awareness to me while I'm out there. So I'm not lackadaisy when I'm going on a call. No call is a routine call for me. It is one of a kind. It could be my last call, right? So when I went on a stop, I'm thinking everything's tactical. Everything I'm doing, from where I stand, the questions I ask, where I position my car, everything is tactical. And so, that level of fear keeps my head, what we say in the military, keeps my head on a swivel. I'm aware of my surroundings, because at the end of the day, I want to go home. And yeah, we see videos all the time. Officers involved shootings where the officers getting shot or ambushed. You know, one still sticks to me to this day. One they showed us in the academy. Guy just walks up to a car on a traffic stop, happens to be midnight, and walks just up to the rear window, passenger window, and guy has a gun right there, boom, shoots and kills him. Right. And so when I saw that, I'm like, man, I hate midnight shifts, you know what I mean? Because you
Oh
don't
yeah,
know. Tinted windows, I mean, that's scary.
yeah,
You don't see,
yeah.
you don't know what's inside that vehicle. So yeah, you're gonna have a level of fear. Now, if you that type of person who's just a straight scaredy cat, or a punk, if you will, that is going to just straight, pull out the gun every time you stopping somebody, and you know what, you need to go. You really don't need to be doing this job, because you're gonna get yourself hurt or somebody else hurt. That's not who you want around in your police departments, right? But I think you're gonna have that some level of fear in you to do this job. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I totally agree. There's always some level of fear. I mean, it's not to the point where it's debilitating, or like you said, you ain't walking around pulling your gun out on any and everything or something like that. I understand that, but you should have some level of fear, because, like you said, it does keep you on your toes. It
Mm,
stops you from being lackadaisical. It stop you cannot. I think people got to understand, when an officer goes to work, that literally could be the last time he goes to work. You see what
mhm.
I'm saying? Literally. Because it is your job to respond to confrontations.
Yep.
It is your job to respond to that active shooter in the school, or that domestic violence situation where the husband threatened to shoot the wife and already popping off shots. Or it's your job to respond to conflict. So, as we know and we see on the media all the time, conflict oftentimes can be deadly, if
Mhm,
just downright dangerous.
mhm.
So, yeah, you should have some level of fear if you're a human being.
Mm.
Being a cop is not about being some macho tough dude. It's about being mentally tough, mentally strong, and understanding the fear level that you should have, and how to direct that, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you had mentioned working night watch, doing a traffic stop, and you come up on a vehicle. I've had that plenty of times. Coming up on a vehicle, got tinted windows. You know what I'm saying? Even when it don't have tinted windows at night, you barely can see inside the car.
Mhm.
Uh, you've seen training videos all the time on traffic stops that go wrong, where the driver or the passenger starts blasting through the window as you walking up to the car. You know what I'm saying? You have to approach that car even with that level of danger. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And you can never think that, well, you know, the odds of that happening to you are slim to none. You can't have that attitude as a police officer, because it takes that slim to none is what's going to get you killed. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can never be so relaxed and lose focus that, oh, that ain't going to happen to me. You see what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
could happen to you. What if you make 10 traffic stops a day? That's 10 times that could happen to you. You see what I'm saying? You
It
don't
only
know.
take
You
it only
just
take
don't
one.
know.
Right.
You know,
It
so
only takes
yeah,
one.
I don't buy that whole, but you shouldn't be afraid. Yeah, you should have some level of fear on everything you do,
Yeah.
and that's why everything that an officer does on patrol is tactically based. There's a
Mhm.
reason why we stop you a certain way. There's a reason why we stop you in a certain location. There's a reason how we exit our car, and there's a way that we go and approach your car. There's a reason why we stand in the position that we stand at your car and have you do certain things. So citizens should also keep in mind of those things, that there's always a level of fear when that officer's approaching your window. He or she doesn't know what they're getting ready to confront. We hope it's the soccer mom that's just going to drop the kids off at soccer practice. Yeah, sure, we hope that, right? But we can never be so relaxed that we start assuming that.
Right.
And that's where officers get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Is when we start assuming that, oh, this ain't gonna happen. And I want citizens to understand that mindset too. It's every day on the street on patrol that the officer, that whole 10-hour shift, 12-hour shift, or whatever shift there is, however long your shift is, you have this what's the word? This anxiety, level of anxiety that you feel because you're waiting on the next call. You have this level of, yeah, I guess anxiety is the best way to describe that, because you don't know what your next call is going to be that whole 10, 12 hours, right? So that's a lot of stress on your body. Think of that if you just driving around and you waiting to see, is there going to be a shooting today? Is there going to be a fight I'm going to get into?
Right.
Is there going to be something that I'm going to respond to that's going to be very emotional or whatever it is? You see what I'm saying? And that kind of stress level is something that an officer goes through just going to work every day.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you learn to live with it. You learn to deal with it. You learn to work with it, because that's what makes you mentally tough, right?
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you. Fear should be a part of your job.
Absolutely. When you going up to that vehicle, I mean, even now with what happened to the Texas Ranger a couple weeks ago, um, you like you said, you used to sit around and just wondering what the next call is going to be, and I used to think that hey, yeah, man, give me a disabled vehicle, I can sit with them and call the tow truck, and that's 45 minutes gone off the shift, that hey, 45 minutes, I'm good, right? But now
Right.
you know you, you had this Texas Ranger that got killed a couple weeks ago, who was going to a disabled vehicle call, and as soon as he gets on scene, I don't even think he got the car and parked good, and was ambushed and shot and killed, right? And so now we're just going to a disabled vehicle. So which used to be, I would put that into, if you want to call anything, a routine, would just be a disabled vehicle occupied. But now you can't say that, because you have to go up to a disabled vehicle now, kind of like iffy. Is this guy? Is this a setup? What's going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, you always got, like they say, we are trained to be prepared for the worst case scenario. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying? So when we go up to that call for service or we make that traffic stop, our mind is, we are ready if this is going to be the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then we walk ourselves back from that once we stop knocking down those blocks of, okay, we see this ain't gonna be this, we see this ain't gonna be that. So we start walking backwards. But when we first approach the situation, we already mentally prepared with that level of fear and all, that this might be the worst case snenario.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, you still are keeping your heightened sense of awareness going on, because soon as you do get complex, because they could be trying to bait you in, right? They're trying to show you, hey, yeah, I'm a law enforcement supporter, and then all of a sudden they get you with your guard down, and boom, There you go. So, for me, there's always going to be a level of fear going on to a traffic stop, which I can feel pretty confident and saying a lot of officers probably would think of or feel the same way that, yeah, because like I said, you don't know if this is your last call, you 10 calls a day. That's 10, like you said, that's 10 chances that, you could have, right? But it only takes one.
Right.
Right?
It
It
takes
only
one.
takes one, and that one and done, right? As many officers have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we thank them for their service. Uh, but it happens that way. So I mean, I wouldn't be so quick to say, "Oh yeah, you a scaredy cat, so you shouldn't be doing this job. You scared." Well, now you need to have a little bit of fear. I mean, same thing, in the military, going out on missions and combat and stuff. Like, you don't know if that was your last time when you went outside that wire. Hit an IED or get ambushed and then attack. You didn't know, right? So, yeah, you were afraid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we signed up for this. It's all volunteer. We know the dangers that you're getting into when you put that uniform on every day. And I knew I would say once I went 42, 1042, that's when I knew I was good. Up until then,
Up until then,
up
that
until
was it.
yeah, up until then, it's still, it's game on. My head is on a swivel. So I would just say, just be cautious of that. Yeah, there's gonna be a level of fear. And so that's my take on it, man. You got anything else to add to that?
No, I think we covered it. That was good flow. I mean, all officers be safe, and all citizens. We love to explain why cops do the things that they do.
Yeah.
Again, we understand and we hear citizens too. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And if one thing I want to try to we're trying to really stop here is we don't want our younger generation or any generation for that matter to just naturally have a negative viewpoint of police. You see what I'm saying? The police aren't going to go anywhere. You will always need police
Right.
in the world, and you see what I'm saying. So we, as a police supporter, retired officer, police supporter, strong police supporter, I just want to make sure that a lot of things can be accomplished if citizens just were educated on why officers do some of the things that they do. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of misunderstandings out there, and that's simply because they don't have the training or they don't know why officers do some of the things they do. That's all. And we love to explain that. We love to try to educate people on that. And we want to hear everybody's, if you have good or bad experiences with officers, we'd like to hear what they are. And, and maybe we can offer some insight into why that may have happened or why that may not have happened.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. We can't answer for all police departments across the country, obviously. You see what I'm saying? We know there's bad officers, across the country, just like there's good officers across the country. We know that. You see what I'm saying? But like I said, we just want citizens to understand, have a good understanding.
Yeah.
That's all.
We have to work together. It's a two-way street.
Right.
An officer has a level of responsibility, and the citizen has a level of responsibility as well. So, good conversation. I love it. If you like this content, again, please hit us up in the comments below. Let us know what you're thinking. And like Mike said, and I said earlier and started the show, let us know what your experience was, good or bad, with the police, and maybe we can offer some insight on it. And we're just two former law enforcement officers giving our opinions. We're not lawyers, anything like this, and we're not trying to sit here and give you any type of legal advice. All right, we're just saying our opinions and what we've experienced as law enforcement officers. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, please. We appreciate it. And hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. So without any further ado, we wish you all a blessed weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.